Welcome back to another episode of Trading Secrets. Today we are joined by Bachelor Nation's newly engaged couple and fan favorites, Joey Graziade and Kelsey Anderson. Joey walked away from his lead role at The Bachelor this past season after asking Kelsey to marry him. Since their season wrapped, Joey and Kelsey have spent their time traveling and spending as much time together as an engaged couple. Having come from two different career paths and geographical locations, Joey a tennis pro in Hawaii, Kelsey a project manager in New Orleans, they are now faced with the deciding factor: what is next for both of them, personally and professionally, as they move to New York City this summer. Or is it this summer? We'll talk about it. Where do they want to live permanently? What do they want to do professionally? Do they see more reality TV in their future? We'll touch it all before the show, during, and after. Joey and Kelsey, thank you so much for being on this episode of Trading Secrets.
Thank you. We're happy to be here.
Yeah, excited to have you guys.
All right. It was like the Graziade, and then it was like Anderson.
All right, that was the most formal I'm going to be. I could honestly, at this point, just put this down. But let's start with last night, eh?
Yeah.
You guys are in Nashville, CMA Fest. Good to have you guys here. We're going to talk about that, but we got to tell the story about we're at Barstool last night, okay? And we're just doing our thing, having fun. Dot and Charity are like completely crushing the dance floor. Like, I'm like, all right, they're killing it. You and I decided to go to the bathroom. And then all of a sudden, security comes after you. Because of Jeffree Star of all things. You gotta explain it.
I don't even know what I'm explaining at this point, because I was just trying to go to the bathroom and we were walking, and all of a sudden this guy starts pushing me backwards, and then I get stopped, like I can't go backwards anymore, and I don't understand what's happening, and he keeps pushing me like, you need to move. I was like, no sir, I can't move, you're pushing me into something. And he's like, no one's behind you. He's been pushing me into a pole that was like one of the tapes that you need to get around,
like,
and I'm just getting pushed.
Yeah.
I just get pushed into a pole, and he kept pushing. He's like, dude, I can't move. And all of a sudden, Jeffree Star just walks right behind him.
It was so funny.
Yeah, it was a low point of last night for me.
It was a high point.
It was a high point for
you couldn't move, but the security guy couldn't see why.
He just kept
like
pushing
because
me.
it was a short pole.
Yeah, it was right on my butt. I couldn't go anywhere.
And he was like, there's no one behind you, which honestly was really funny to me. Like, he did not realize at all like why you couldn't move back. But it
broke my brain for a second, because I literally wasn't moving, but he was pushing me.
No, I can't move. You're pushing me into a pole.
I thought he was pushing me into a wall.
You just come up to me like, I just got assaulted, but I don't know if I did, and I'm confused. Can you help me? Oh, well, that was last night. All right, well, let's talk about yesterday, actually. So you did the CMA tent. I asked you how it went. You said you signed like 200 different photos, and you're taking pictures. You're doing these meet and greets. I think about, Kelsey, just about a year and a half ago, your assistant project manager in New Orleans. Joey, like 2 years, not even 2 years ago, you're a tennis pro, at a tennis teacher at Ensworth here in Nashville. Now, fast forward, 18 months, and you have a line of people. By the way, I was doing a thing with Mr. Clean, and we left at like 9:30. Literally, we had like a Mr. Clean model, and we passed the tent, and people were lining up for you guys at 9:30.
Yeah.
So you think about
packed.
that. When like you're looking back on that, past the pole in the ass and Jeffree Star, go back a few more hours, like how just wild is it to you? What does it mean to you when you think about yesterday, sitting there signing 200 different autographs, taking pictures? How surreal is it? What does it feel like today?
Yeah, I think we both are on the same side of just grateful. Like, we understand that we got dealt a crazy hand, but we just feel so lucky that there's been so much support, so much kindness through all of this. Yeah, and it was wild because we're in Nashville where I used to live, and there's people coming up that like are telling me connections that I used to teach their mom tennis or this and that. And it's kind of a full circle thing to be here and doing something like this now. But we had the best day yesterday. Everyone was so kind.
Yeah, everyone was so nice, and it was very surreal. I was like, why do people want my signature?
Yeah.
But
is it still like pinch me to you? Like,
yes, for me it fully is. I feel like Joey's been around all this a little bit longer, but for me still, it's like, I don't know if it'll ever feel normal. Like, I don't know. I'm very grateful, but it is very foreign to me.
Yeah, we both said it should never feel normal. Like we're just kind of embracing it and enjoying it, and we know this is a crazy time, but I think what we love most is the little stories we get, the people sharing like how they connected with the season and how much they enjoyed it. And we both are really proud that we felt like we were ourselves fully through it. So for people to connect with that and then talk through it, it was beautiful for us. It was a good day. It really was.
There were people coming up with like tears in their eyes talking about how like they've lost a parent, and like the way that I opened up about like losing a parent was like, just like very comforting for them. And that meant a lot to me. So it's like really special to hear those stories and see how you touched other people's lives.
There's literally nothing better than that.
Yeah.
Right? You're given a platform you never expected.
Yeah.
And now you're having an impact in like such a positive way,
Totally.
which is absolutely beautiful. All right. Well, let's get into some of the career stuff before the show, right? And then we'll get into what today looks like. That's all coming. But Joey, let's start with you. So teaching tennis pro here at Ensworth, and you went to Hawaii. Talk to me a little bit like what that career track looked like and the money behind that business and like what you expected 5-10 years from now to look like if this didn't come your way.
Yeah. So when I was at Ensworth, it was kind of when I was in a transition too, because I left a sales job and tennis is always what I was good at, is what I came back to. But I was pretty much a full teaching tennis pro on staff. And for that, you're usually ripping somewhere between 40 to 50 hours a week on court. And, somewhere along the lines of making, depending on how many people on court with you, around $80 to $100 an hour. So you do well.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, you do
I did
well.
Not realize that.
It's definitely, it can be lucrative, but at the same time, the game of a tennis pro is you can only do that for so long. Because 40 hours on court is tough. You either have to get to the point where you're teaching more high level players and you're kind of sitting on the side, or you're teaching ladies and you're kind of feeding a lot more. But if you're doing full on hitting lessons, which can happen sometimes, I mean, you beat your body up. So the goal, the track was always for me, and still something I would look to later today, was to be a director of a place, to be in the position where you're overseeing a full facility and you're more dealing with the business side, where you have pros that are working under you and they're giving you a percentage of their lessons. And you're kind of overseeing everything and doing your version of it, where maybe you're on court more 10 hours a week and you're choosing who you want to teach, but then you have a full group of people that you're kind of really just setting your own dynamic and trying to get a club that makes sense to you. So that was always where I was trying to build towards. I was still in the teaching stage of it right now.
In the teaching stage, though, making $100 an hour, how much goes back to the house?
Usually you would be somewhere along the lines, if you're at a good place, you're making 70% of it, maybe more in a tougher place like 60.
Okay.
So yeah, I would say usually it was somewhere around 75 to 90K a year is what you could probably pull from what I was doing if you're putting enough hours into it.
And then a director, which is where your trajectory, what do they make?
Usually you're in a setup where you're probably getting paid a salary for your business. And I'd say a good staff job, somewhere between 40 to 60K is what you're making. But then you're getting a percentage of everyone's lessons. If you're clearing probably somewhere close to 150 as a director, that's a great starting position. That's if you have a good functioning club. But they're all different because it's how well your club's doing. You can do a lot better. My uncle was in it and he did really, really well when he was doing it, and he only did it for summers. So it can be very lucrative if you get the right setup.
Sweet, that's awesome. All right, we're gonna get into the finances of the transition into reality TV. Before we do that, Kelsey, let's go to you, assistant project manager.
Yes.
I mean, you got the cones going up there, you got concrete being poured, you're doing it all. In a job like that, how much can you make? What's it like?
I was new to it. I was only there for like a year and a half before I went on to the show. So I was making like 50K, but I know project managers that are like full project managers, they make like 100K plus. Like you can make a lot of money in that field, especially the different type of projects that y'all work on. Like the project that I was working on, it was a 1 million square foot renovation project. It's huge. So like the project managers on that site were probably making a lot of money, like the full ones.
Yeah.
But I also did owner representative work. So I was in between the owner and the contractor. So I pretty much made sure that the owner was getting everything that they wanted and need out of the project. So making sure that all aspects of scope were being met with like the timeline and the budget, and making sure that the contractor was like, doing what they're supposed to. And like checking their numbers and checking their receipts and all of that crazy stuff.
Okay, so when you were doing that stuff, you fast forward now, and I put out my Instagram, and I could read all of the questions.
Yeah.
Like everyone asked me about their professional, personal, financial lives. What do you guys want to know?
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many people are like, when is Kelsey getting into modeling? When is Kelsey? Like literally, I'm not just saying, like, it's got to be 50 plus.
Yeah.
So if I went back to that Kelsey, who's working the receipts of project management, and said like, hey, in about a year and a half from now, you're going to blow up on social media, be a reality TV star. You are going to earn the heart of America's sweetheart and then become America's sweetheart. And now everyone's saying you're going to be in modeling. Like, was that ever in your trajectory? Did you know you were on to greater and bigger things more than just assistant project management, or was that never in your future?
I think the greater things after assistant project management in my mind was project manager. Like it was like just like not being an assistant.
Next ladder.
It was like just like the next level of that. It was never going to be like all of this that has, you know, came from this show that I am very grateful for. But yeah, it's wild. It's like,
it's wild.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah. And even obviously after the show, we're all friends. We were talking what's next steps look like. And I remember Kelsey just getting off the show and she's like, Jason, I just don't get it. Like, and we'll talk about that. We're like, I don't get how this world could possibly be a profession. And I think that's probably a testament to like how you think about things. Like, I think there's so much reality and you're like, no, I'll just be a project manager.
Yeah.
And that's it. And here you are. Now people are calling you to be on the next big magazines, which you just landed a cover.
Yeah.
But let's actually figure out how you got here. So how does The Bachelor find Kelsey Anderson in New Orleans? What did it look like?
I found The Bachelor.
How's that?
I applied myself. Some of my girlfriends were like, you have to apply again. One of my girlfriends applied me.
Wait. You said again.
Yes, one of my girlfriends had applied
She
me
applied.
like 3 years ago. One of my
Who
girlfriends
was The
had.
Bachelor then?
I have no idea. Like it was like a random application. I don't think that they knew anything.
It was Pilot
anything.
Pete season, wasn't it?
Probably.
It would be. It would be.
No,
Pilot Pete.
No,
Shocker. Pilot Pete's already talked to Kelsey.
I can't remember what year it was, but I remember my girlfriend had just applied me because I'd got out of a relationship and then I'd got out of another relationship like kind of like a couple months before his season of The Bachelor. And I was just like, I don't know, like dating is hard. Like I feel like I didn't want to do the apps, things like that. And my girlfriend was like, you just have to apply for The Bachelor. Like it'd be a fun experience. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I like honestly like half-assed it. Like I didn't submit pictures. Like I just kind of like wrote it in really quick as fast as I could, submitted it. And somehow I got an email and I was like, this isn't real. Like,
How soon thereafter did you get an email?
I got an email. Honestly, I can't remember the difference. It was probably a couple weeks. But I was really surprised. Like I was not expecting it at all.
Did you know Joey was going to be The Bachelor?
I did not know. They asked me to watch. And so his season of The Bachelorette was just coming out. And they asked me to watch it and tell them who I liked from it. And I said, Joey. And so
Who else did you say?
Our boy Dotton.
The full circle. All four of us were on the dance floor last night. Well,
I thought that they just seemed like the most genuine guys, in my opinion, and like some just really great guys. So yeah, that's what I'm embarrassed.
It's not embarrassing. I love it. I think it's great. Dotton and I think if
Jerry and I
anyone
have the same time.
if anyone watched that season and if anyone ever hung out with me and Dotton, like we do have a very similar demeanor in that sense. We're just completely different people at the same time too.
Yeah.
I
Y'all
just interviewed Sheridan Dotton and it was such a great, and it was a deep interview. It's coming in a week, either next Monday or the Monday following. So everyone stay tuned. One of the things we talked about, obviously she's a therapist. We got in the weeds about being like, I was like, what was your clinical take as a therapist of like everything you're seeing the people, like, cause of course there's so many emotional swings. Like how would you diagnose it? Like to hear her take as a professional is interesting. So then I talked to Dotton about it and I'm teasing it a little bit, but he's like, man, it's just like, it's like a big dick measuring stick out. Everyone's like, take your dicks out, act like you're that big. And I'm like, well, Todd, that's why you win.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he had going. That's what he had going.
He is an absolute beauty. But okay, so you think it's going to be Joey and Kelsey, or Joey, Joey or Dotton, and you end up going on the show. To go on to the show, did you have to talk to your employer? Did they tell you you'll have your job back? Did they tell you you have to leave your job? What did it look like?
Yeah, I told my boss once it started getting serious of like interviewing. I was like, hey, I've been interviewing for The Bachelor. I was like, I might be going on. I was like, obviously, I really love my job and I want to continue working here. Like, do you think that we can make that work? I was like, it could be a week. It could be, plus. Like, I don't know how long I'll be there. I was like, I'll probably be back in a week. Like, you won't have to worry. Yeah. My boss was very supportive. She was like, we want you to, do this. This is a really cool opportunity for you. She fully supported me. So I like left and I was gone for 2 months and then I came back and I went straight back to work. And yeah, she was just like happy to have us back, have me back. She was really, I don't know. I was like very grateful with like my support with my work.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to hear that. We'll talk about what work looks like today. So stay tuned to that. But Joey, let's get into your journey here, right? So Joey and I met in Nashville through Mr. Doctor even more.
Get it right.
Dennis, let's get it right. We're golfing, we have a good time. You and I connect. And I was like, I want to get out to Hawaii at some point. And then you DM me and you're like, hey, there's this casting director. I don't know if it's real or not. Like, does this sound legit? Do you know this name? And I was like, no, I have no idea who that is. And then called the person I do know, and they're like, oh, that person's great. We just hired him. This is legit. So they just found you through your DMs then.
It's still today. I don't know what happened, because it was actually not even a casting director. It was a producer, and he's like one of the main producers on the show right now. Like, he's one of the main people that deals with all of the cast when they're going through. He always goes to the end. Like, one of our favorite people, Patrick.
Yeah.
And
but was he wasn't there when I was on?
When he was on, I think his second. He was on his second season, I think, when he did it. And from what I've been told, like, they obviously, part of their whole entire situation is they're supposed to sometimes find talent. Yeah. And I think I was like private at the time. I don't really remember what it was. But if you know Patrick, which anyone on the show that on the last couple of years do, like, if you talk to Patrick, I ask him, like, how'd you find me? He's like, yeah, I don't know. Like, that's his response. Like,
he has no idea.
He has no idea how he found me. He just DM'd me, and we had the funniest phone call. And he was great. And then I called you and I said, can you figure out if this is real before I actually decide if I want to do this? And then Patrick was someone that I like had multiple interviews with on the show, like someone that was part of the experience. Yeah. So my thing was so amazing that like the person that also found me was a part of my entire experience too.
That is nuts. Do you remember, like, when you and I first met, we played golf that day in Nashville. Anything specific? Because a lot of people, when I ask them, like, what questions? Like, how'd you guys know each other? Anything you remember from that time? And you got any stories that maybe I don't even know?
I think the biggest thing for me was I knew we were supposed to play golf, if you don't forget, like 10 other times, right? Because I've golfed with Ian a ton of times, and
so I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so like we were supposed to play one time at Greystone. There was like multiple times where I'm always playing with Ian, and he's like, I got a fourth. It's gonna be my buddy Jason. Yeah, and then you always backed out because he's a busy guy. He's got a podcast. He's got all these other things going on. So I think there was maybe like 3 or 4 times you're supposed to golf, and then you just didn't make it. But this was one of the last ones, and the crazy thing was, it was, as you knew, like a month before I moved to Hawaii. Yep. And then I meet you and I was like, damn, this guy's got a familiar face. Like, why do I feel like I know who this person is? Yeah. And of course, we're like walking through Hermitage Clubhouse and someone stops you and asks for a picture. And I remember I came up to you and I think you love this. I was like, who the hell are you? Like, I pretty much asked, I was like, what is this? And you're like, I was on this show and blah, blah, blah. And then we just went on to have like a great round. And I think we just had a good time, because we were with Ian and Mike, who were just good boys. And I just remember that you were so inviting to me right away, and we just had a really good day. Yeah. And it just was a natural thing at the end when you were asking me what I was doing, trying to get to know me. Yeah. And you said that you might want to come to Kauai sometime, so you just asked for my Instagram and we connected, because we didn't even have our numbers at that time. No, we didn't have numbers. We just followed each other on Instagram. So even when I DM'd you, I was like, this guy's not going to respond. I mean, he's got 900,000 followers. Like, I'm gonna reach out to this guy, and he's gonna be like not even responding. So I'm gonna have to go.
This is fraud.
I'm gonna end up like giving my social security number to someone that's trying to fraud me. I didn't even know what was happening when I was applying. So the fact that you responded, the fact that you took that phone call with me to like get me prepped for the show, like, you are a big part of why all of this happened, because I wouldn't have been able to do this if I couldn't have talked to you and get some understanding of what this whole entire experience was going to be like.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It was, I remember that day actually, because I lived like, the last house I lived in was backed up to the course that we played at. I was having a really tough day that day. I remember it. And when I came into that group, I was like, I just don't want to deal with anybody. And I was like, wait a second. These are great guys. Yeah. And you, I mean, just the banter, everyone's energy, and it like totally turned that day around. And here you are, all these couple years later, life is changing around. I'm very thankful we met before, thankful for our friendship, and so excited for what you got going on and what the future looks like. But let's talk about, you get off the show. I want to ask you just only one gossip question about charity season, okay? Yeah. Promise it's only one. In the fantasy suite, at any capacity, do you talk about careers, money, what future would look like in that capacity?
100%.
You did?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think
that's a rare answer I get. That's why I asked.
It was more, I mean, and we talked about this too. It's like, it's important to understand what you're trying to to see what's next, because I think anytime you get into this world, you have to ask the question of what it's going to be like to be in a public relationship.
Yeah.
And that conversation naturally pivots into, well, what do you want to do with all of this? And no one comes into this if they're in it for, as the quote unquote right reasons. No one comes into this to
20
try
years plus. That
no one comes into this that does well to try to turn it into something else. But you would be a fool not to at least have that conversation to see, like, what do you want to do? And for that time, like Charity was saying, I want to get back into therapy. And for me, I was saying, tennis is going to be a part of my life. So we didn't have a deep conversation. I think it was just more the surface level, but I think it was also important. And I did the same thing with her when we were in ours, to be like, what do you want to do? Do you want to be in the public light? Do you want to shy away from it? Do we want to try to figure out ways to get back to our normal life? If we can't, how are we going to pivot and do that?
So you two talked about this in the fantasy suite. You got into like
I want to say it was at least an hour conversation.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, we talked about it, and I said pretty much like, I'm open to it as long as it doesn't like taint our relationship. Like as long as it doesn't affect our relationship. Like I'm open to doing things like this and being open to the public.
I'll say this: that was, I would say, on the show, one of the most important moments for me was asking that question and understanding what this all was. Because when you're in the position that I am, you always question, are you doing this for some other reason? Is this and that? And she gave the most natural answer that I have ever heard. And she said it pretty much word for word there. But what I remembered was, I will be open to whatever this brings. But as soon as we start doing this for other people, I want out. I'm not doing this unless it's for us. And that was when I was like, you're in this for me. And now I can actually fully see what this is going to bring. But at least I know at the end of the day that we're going to come back and know that this is actually more important, what we are trying to build here together.
That is so intuitive and like years beyond, because I think what happens is most people do not talk about this in the fantasy suite. And weirdly enough, it's, it's the intimacy, it's the physical connection, it's the beautiful show that brings the relationships together. And I think a lot of them are split up from the mayhem after, right? And I think the idea of being like, we can do whatever we want to pursue professionally, let's do it. But as long as our personal foundation is always the priority and stronger than that. And the fact that you guys were doing that in the fantasy suite, like talking about that is huge. Because another thing that a common question out there is, listen, I know it, I've seen it, I'm friends with people who've experienced it. It's a lot of this, like the success rate of going through this and then getting across the line is tough. And so a lot of the big questions are like, how and what can you do knowing that to beat those odds, to be the couple that everyone is so vested in? And I think it's conversations literally like that, 100%. Years beyond, that people aren't having, that get you to that point.
People don't see them either, right? Because that's not what the TV show is all about. Like they're not going to understand. No one gets to see that conversation. No one gets to get like an insight into my brain about every step I took through this to try to make sure that when she left, that she had zero doubts that I was fully invested in her. Like you can't ever capture or understand that. And I get it. Like we knew coming in, we get that we're breaking odds to try to be a successful couple in this. We've said multiple times, we wish we met in a bar. Like that would have been the more ideal situation. But we haven't, and we would have never met each other if it wasn't for this. So for that, we are so grateful. And now we're just doing our best to navigate a very weird situation.
A very weird
But
situation.
that's what my dad said. And I think that it
Your dad.
My dad said that. He was like,
don't just say your dad and keep talking. Put that guy on a magazine.
Anderson.
My mom's ready to like marry your dad, and she's happily married for 40 years. I'm like, Mom, take a chill pill.
He said that too. He was like, y'all would have never met otherwise. Like, I'm so happy for y'all. I'm so glad that you did this. And he was like, and you got out with Joey, and he was like, y'all would have never met otherwise, and y'all seem amazing together. So I don't know, that made me really happy. It's like, obviously,
the key word in all of this, I think, is perspective. Like you have to try to change your mindset to understand that you can always find the wrong things in this. But if you can get the right perspective and be grateful for how this actually happened, there's good things that come from it. So we've just been trying to have a good perspective.
It's the perfect disposition. We're going to get into what's now and how you're navigating it. But before we do, I want to ask you, you've just mentioned a bunch of times like how this has changed your life, like how grateful you are, how amazing it's been, and thank God for it. But you look at a situation like what we're seeing from your season, right? You have Maria and Daisy who were offered the opportunities, who've explained in depth why they passed. My question to you then is, at any capacity or any time when you were offered The Bachelor, did you think, for some of the reasons we've heard recently, did that ever cross your mind? Or for you, was it like, this is for me, I'm in?
No, 100%. I definitely questioned if I was going to do it.
Did you?
Yeah.
What was the biggest factor?
I think, to be fully transparent, the success rate was scary. I think that I am smart enough to realize that I question, how can I actually have a very strong relationship if I'm going to be trying to figure out the relationship on TV? She's going to have to look back and watch it. I think another big part of it is leads usually get very scrutinized in this position, and I didn't want to be in that spot where I guess I kind of came unscathed from charity season. Like, I obviously was just myself, and I felt really lucky that I was able to portray who I was and fully give everything I could. So to get back into that world again and be under that spotlight, all that was scary. So I don't think if anyone was in my role and was doing it and said they didn't think about it or seem like it wasn't a good idea, I think they're lying to themselves, because you have to.
You know what? And I don't have any of this prepared now. Now that you're saying this, it's jogging my memory. When you and I talked, we talked about that. And I think we first said was, they haven't picked like the fan favorite that people want to be the Bachelor. And I think I quoted to you since Ben. And I think we talked and we were like, but what happened to Ben? Ben was the perfect guy on The Bachelorette. And of course, everyone knows was the great Bachelor, like one of the best. Yeah. But we talked about, they still, with the season, I think it was like titled The Perfect Ben, like a perfect 10, and how it kind of set it up like there's going to be some drama here. So I remember you saying like, I don't think like they're even gonna, I don't know if they're going to pick me. And even if they do, I kind of did one show and I got out unscathed. Do I want to do another? And you did it. You defied all odds.
I did my best.
I have said it publicly, the greatest Bachelor of all time. You have dealt with, I would say, every Bachelor that's gone on this show has they come out with warrior wounds.
Yeah.
I would say you got paper cuts at best. You have had a good run, my man.
I was very lucky. I think I came out probably as good as you could. But at the end of the day, the reason why I think I'm the luckiest is because I'm with her. That's always what I say. It's the truth.
Yeah.
My goal has always been.
It is so true.
My goal has always been, if I was going to do this, I was so scared I wasn't going to have a real connection. I was so scared that I wasn't going to be able to feel confident enough in the end to get engaged. And I had zero doubts on that day. And I wanted that feeling fully because I know how important that is. And that was the reason why I was like, I have zero regrets. This was the best decision I ever made. To have that feeling on that last day is the most important thing. Yeah. And that's scary in its own right, because you don't pick these people. You don't do anything. You just show up and you just hope that they're going to have that feeling. And the fact that it brought me Kelsey, I mean, that is the reason why I feel like I was the luckiest Bachelor.
That is beautiful, and it's so pure. One thing I was going to ask you, I've never asked you this before, and you could just say pass on this one, honestly. But I think about the Claire, because for me it was so okay, spoiler alert. Joey gets off the season, we talk, and he's like, "You're gonna love her. She's amazing. Yeah. You're gonna know from the second." I knew from the second. You were very confident.
If people knew before and you watched it, you would have saw how much Kelsey was there from the beginning. For sure.
And that's in your eye, and obviously there's a story to the show and stuff, so you see all these other areas, but that's how you had mentioned it to me. One thing I never asked you is you saw a season like Claire Crawley, where with her and Dale, she was like, "I'm done, it's over." Yeah. Was there ever a time during the show but you didn't? You just said you just had one of the purest moments you two had was behind the scenes at Fantasy Suite in that deep conversation. But was there ever going to be a Claire Crawley moment here where you were like, "I'm done with the show. I got my girl. Let's wrap this up"?
If I would have to guess, I would say every season there is probably a Claire moment. I would say every season there is a moment where the lead is pretty sure that they know who it is maybe midway through. But then you have to be realistic, because there are so many important factors that are set up to the credit of the show that you need to go through. There's no way I could have ended it without her meeting my family.
Yeah.
And you can't do that to the end. There's no way I could have done it until I saw her family and seen how we had a dynamic. So it is difficult when you feel as strong as you do, and then you're trying to keep your mind open when you feel strong about someone. But on top of it, you would be doing a disservice to everyone that's there, a disservice to the whole process of this, if you don't at least see every step out. And I struggled with it because it is difficult to bring other people along while you're trying to figure that out. But I did the best I could. I tried my best to be honest through it. I think everyone saw that, but it would be wrong to end it early without doing the most important things, which is family to me, and those come at the end.
Perfectly said.
Yeah, I think that like if you would have ended it early and tried to get engaged middle of time, like you would have had to meet my family. Like I don't think that I could have like said yes to an engagement unless he met my family and I got that. Like yes, like I love you so much and all this, but also it's like my family means so much to me as well, you know, and their opinion does matter a lot to me.
I asked Mark's hand. I really asked for her hand through Mark, and like I had to do that. So
you asked for Mark's hand.
I asked for Mark.
We all asking for Mark's hand.
Let me look right
all
in that
America
camera.
wants
I
Mark's
would
hand.
ask for Mark Anderson's hand. I'm looking right in that camera. I would ask for Mark Anderson's hand. That's the sweetest man that's ever existed.
It's the best.
Yeah, this guy's just taking over the whole podcast. But honestly, I think Claire's great and Dale's great. I've got to meet them both individually, but also you look at that situation. They did that, and with what you just said, that's obviously not the process they went through, and it didn't work out for them. So, perfectly said. Perfectly said. All right, so you guys finished the show. Congratulations, you're in love. Life is good. We're done with the Bachelor drama. Let's get into real life here. Yeah. Joey, you got pretty much 99.9% of things going for you, but if I read like any negative comments out there, which was next to nothing, one of them's like, what the hell is this dude just like live with his sister? Like, what are we doing here? So you finish. You live with your sister, which by the way, she is way cool. She's way cooler than you.
Than me.
She's
better than you in every way.
What is it called? Cooler older sister syndrome or something like that?
Yeah.
Sister syndrome,
you're only cool if you have a cooler older sister.
Yeah.
So every part of me is accredited to Carly.
Yeah.
So
She's
that's
a
good.
beautiful, fun, kind, way cooler than
amazing.
you. Yeah, I'm surprised the show didn't find her before you, honestly.
I bet you
She
they
was
wish they
married
did.
already.
Yeah, they wish they
That's
did.
so
And by the way, the brother-in-law's an absolute gem.
Zach's
He's
the best
awesome.
too.
Absolute gem. Yeah.
It's funny. Zach and I are so similar, and Carly and Joey are so similar.
Yeah,
We're like,
that
it's so
It
funny.
works
Like Zach
perfectly.
and I have the same humor and everything,
Yeah.
and they're more chill but so fun.
I love
it's funny.
it. It's beautiful. All right, so you finish the show. Then
Yeah.
you tell Kelsey I live in my sister's basement. No, I'm just kidding. She doesn't have a
No,
basement.
he's got the upstairs room.
I'm just messing around. Kelsey, you're in New Orleans. How many roommates do you have?
2.
Okay, you have 2
Yeah.
roommates. You obviously have to think not only like personally what we're doing, but you're
Yeah.
thinking professionally, future outlook.
Yeah.
You decide to go to New Orleans at this time. Walk me through what that decision looked like and why.
Yeah, I was still working, and so I was like, I gotta go back to my, like, I'm not quitting my job.
Yeah.
So, and he was just living with his sister, so I was like, you can move in with me. I have a very big room, and my roommates were all in. They're like, we can't wait to get to know Joey, and it's kind of like a new girl situation.
Yeah, I'm on a like comedy sketch right now. I feel like I'm full on in a new girl situation. There's 3 girls and 1 Joey. And I'm just like sitting there in the middle
Why
of
have
all
you guys
these
not
bad
filmed
girls'
it?
nights.
He's
I
got
got
Roman.
Roman. the
This
boy.
is
He's
a
the little
modern
dog.
day Friends, and
Yeah.
you haven't
Literally.
filmed it.
It
This is
really
as a manager. I'm
I know.
like, film this
It's
shit.
funny when their boyfriends are over too. We're just like, it really feels like
No.
friends.
It's a great atmosphere to walk into. I do think people forget that in my situation, like moving to my sister's was strategic. Like I was living in Hawaii. There's no way I could be living there with the amount that I was going to be doing with press going from New York to LA. So I was like, I need to either go find a new place or I have to get into a place that's going to let me be able to travel pretty easily on the mainland. So Carly was amazing. So was Zach. They just opened up their home to me and pretty much made their guest room Joey's room.
Yeah.
And that was awesome. But for her side, like, when you go on the show, you have to remember that they come on knowing that you have a 1 in 32 chance of getting engaged. So
I was literally doing the statistics like every single week. Like, oh, I have this percent
about
like
that.
odds of like making it. Like,
you talked about that in your first book. You
All the
gave me that
time.
whole breakdown when I won The Bachelorette. So
I
for
was literally
her
doing
side,
that.
it would have been wrong of me to
you,
be
Kelsey.
like, we need to get you out of what your life was
Yeah.
because she dropped her whole life to be a part of this. And I knew that regardless of what was going to happen, my life was going to have to change and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
So it was a no-brainer to do New Orleans.
So you then your residence right now is in New Orleans.
Yes.
Okay, and then so you are in a 3-bedroom place.
It's 4-bedroom.
4-bedroom,
But
and
there's
then
only
you
3
two
people.
share. I guess
Yeah.
we getting the numbers here. So 4-bedroom,
Yeah.
you share a room then.
Yep.
But we share a room, yeah.
And do you have like where's all your? Do you have storage? Like,
Yeah, I
where's
have a
all-
huge closet.
And it's been great. She's got a huge
You're the
closet.
best.
Huge
And
closet
I
that
now
has
open my
90% of her clothes in it. I got like a
I
little.
cleared out a lot for you.
I think if you look on my Instagram, I had a
2
Joey corner
drawers.
in the basement, pretty much.
Yeah, no, in our spare room, we have a lot of like
Yeah,
storage
they got
stuff
storage.
there.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
Carly and Zach's been great. Like I still have a lot of my stuff there.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
because we've been going to Philly so much and
Yeah.
we've
Yeah.
been traveling that.
His winter clothes are in Philly. They don't need to be in New Orleans.
So you got storage in Philly
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
4-bedroom. What do you pay for rent?
I pay with utilities probably like $1,200.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys are this is the most like humble thing in the world. You
Yeah.
guys are sharing the bedroom and the closet
Yeah.
in New Orleans with your 3 other roommates. We're gonna get into what you do professionally. Before we do, you tell your other three roommates that America's sensation Joey is not my fiance and he's moving in with us.
Yeah.
What are they like? What do they say? What's the
They were
dynamic
pumped.
like?
They were so excited. They
How many
love
bathrooms
him.
are there?
There's 3.
Okay, Joey,
Yeah.
do you have like your
sharing,
own?
we're sharing a bathroom with our friend
Hannah.
Hannah. Yeah.
Hannah's very clean.
She's
But
clean,
honestly,
she's
we
great.
joke though. Like honestly, I think it makes sense to be in New Orleans because we have been traveling so much. It's like that's our base.
Okay,
Back.
so you're traveling a lot, right? So then you're not seeing the roommates as much, but
Yeah.
it's
So,
got. I
but
mean, it's
we
got to
joke-
be an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, but we
Nothing's
joke that
I
it's like our
love being there.
closet. It's like our closet right now because we've been traveling so much. Like that's just like where our clothes are, and we were unpacking and repack to go to the next place right now.
We can
'cause
share
of how
one
bad.
story of how crazy it's been in this month alone. Was that we again? It goes back to Mark. God bless that man's soul. He drove us all the way from St. Louis.
Can we
back.
just make Mark like the next
I
bachelor?
feel like we should.
Just stop the
I know.
Bachelorette.
He doesn't
Stop
even need to be gold.
Paradise.
Just make it the Bachelor.
That's all we want.
Just put him in there. But he drove us all the way from St. Louis to New Orleans. The kindest thing ever. And then we get there. I think it was at 12
It was
o'clock.
midnight, yeah.
We got there at midnight, and we had to get in a car for a New York City event with ABC at 4 a.m. So that was our last stint in New Orleans in May. Was we had 4 hours.
4
so
hours
you
to
want to talk
unpack
about
and
a
repack.
closet? Like we literally got to her room, unpacked one bag because we were coming from Hawaii and a wedding.
Yeah.
So I unpacked the suit, the swimsuits, put in stuff for a New York City event,
Yeah.
and then we had a wedding in New Jersey. Then we went
And then
to Portugal. So like,
and then
Oh my God.
Philly.
and we've been living out of a suitcase this month.
Yeah.
So it's
that was our one
definitely-
time. I think we went to New Orleans in May.
Our
was
goal
for
was to
4
get.
hours.
Our goal is to be able to spend a little more time there.
I
for
do
sure.
feel like this is like literally a sitcom here. Like you
Yeah.
two in a place with three of your
Yeah, and
girlfriends.
they are, like,
are they
the
single? Are they dating? I don't know why I'm so interested in
They
this.
both have boyfriends.
But do they want
and
to
they're
know what they're like?
amazing.
All right, tell us about your life. Like we want to know everything. Like,
Wait, what?
Do they like want to know
Oh,
everything?
I mean, literally, whenever I am home, like I was home before we came here, and Joey was gone. But like Hannah, she's one of my best friends, and Claire, like as well, she's one of my best friends. Literally, we were just like hanging out 24/7. Like Hannah was just in my room nonstop.
Asking all the questions.
Wanna know
Even
everything.
half the time we weren't even talking. It's just like we love being around each other and each other's presence. And like sometimes she's asking questions. She's like, "Oh yeah, what about this?" It was funny. Joey was joking earlier about me asking Hannah all the questions whenever I first got
Yeah.
there. I like literally asked her like 5 questions within like 4 seconds.
Yeah.
Didn't even give her
Just
a chance
boom,
to
boom, boom.
respond.
I didn't even give her a chance to. I was like, "Oh this, oh and this, and this, and this, and this,"
Yeah.
and then she's like, "Oh," like because oh shit, we were catching up.
Zamboni, aisle 3.
Zamboni. Yeah, I think the main thing is we just been moving so much that it's definitely a quick catch
It
up
makes
every
sense.
time.
Yes,
All
yeah.
right. So then you're going to New York City timeline. When are you moving to New York City? Yeah, we'll
We're
make
good.
sure.
I've always wanted to live there. I joke. I'm like, I feel like it's like I've watched too much Sex in the City
Mm-hmm.
or something, where it's just like it was always a dream of mine. Too many like '90s rom-coms or something set
ready,
in New York,
Joey.
where
Yeah.
I'm like,
Out
I've
of Sex
always
in the
wanted.
City. Yeah.
Sex in the City. No, I mean, we were really excited for New York. I would always say that when I was doing press, I would go back between New York and LA, and I thought New York was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, and it's close to family for me, so
That's
we
great.
know that's where we want to end up and do a few years there. We're not sure exactly when yet.
Okay.
We know that we're going to be leaving New Orleans sometime in August. We're trying to get a little bit of an idea of what we're going to be doing after that.
Sure.
So it's up in the air, but I think I would be shocked that by the end of this year we're not living in New
Okay,
York
so
City.
next
Yeah.
6 months, the goal
Yeah,
is
For
to
sure.
be there.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
cool.
sometime by the end of this year, we'll definitely
My
be in
lease
New York.
ends in like end of July though.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay, so then
We
there's
might have some in between stuff. We're still trying to figure it out because again, we have so much going on right now. But
Yeah.
if we're not living in New York by Christmas time, I'd be pretty shocked.
Okay, so my natural
cry.
question is then, if you moved to New Orleans because Kelsey had a job and you're now going to New York City because your lease ends, what is going on with your job?
Yes, this is my unemployment announcement.
No. Da-da-da, da-da-da.
She has no
Breaking
job
news.
now. I had to quit. We've just been so busy. I
Yeah.
felt like it wasn't fair to my job, juggling between all of this and not being able to focus on the project that was at hand. So I ended up quitting. My boss was very kind about it all, and she was like, if you ever want to come back, please let us know. But yeah, whenever we move to New York, I plan on picking back up project management because I love what I do.
Okay,
Yeah.
but talk to me about this. So you guys are traveling a lot.
Yeah.
There was, this whole world. I remember when you and I had talked, you're like, I don't know about all this. Like, it's
Yeah.
a lot. But so now tell me about, like, when you think about the professional side, the financial side, also what people might not know about you is like how, at least this is my interpretation, you're very analytical. You're a planner.
Yes.
Like you have comfort in knowing financial stability.
Yes.
You think about this stuff thoroughly. I would say majority of people that I meet, especially that come off the show and all these things come, do not think like that.
Yeah.
So it's a kudos to you. But for you then to quit your job, obviously, I got to imagine you're thinking through this pretty thoughtfully. So talk to me about like what the professional career side was like for you to be like, okay, I'm going to take the leap of faith. And what does that look like?
I think I don't know. I feel like, part of it was that Joey was like, no matter what, like I'll help you if you need help in any sense. But which gave me a little bit of financial security because I was like, oh my god, am I just gonna like, what am I gonna do for these couple months of all this craziness? Because also it's like I was on the show for 2 months. I had to pay rent and all this stuff where I wasn't getting paid for 2 months, and then I went back to work, and then it was I was like. It almost felt like I was catching up with like my finances in my mind. I like to like invest and do things like that, but it's like with like actual, I feel like liquid cash, it's like it's stressful for me. It's like I feel like I need to have like a certain amount to feel secure financially.
Is it for you, like when you think about it, it's like you need a month of expenses? Is it 2 months or is it a certain dollar amount? Like how?
No, yeah, I think it's like a certain amount of months where it's like that would make me feel
so
good.
So what makes you comfortable? Like how many months do you want saved ideally?
At least like 3.
Okay,
yeah,
sure. Yeah,
at least
I think that's
like,
a good number too.
Yeah, because it's with the show and stuff. That was 2 months on its own. And then also you have to buy all these dresses and all the clothes and all these things, and it was stressing me out. But thankfully, I have amazing friends, and we had a packing party, and they all brought clothes over, and they helped me like pick out all my outfits, and we literally had like my iPad and like all these like pictures of my outfits on the iPad, like on like a slideshow, like kind of thing, where we're like, these are all my outfits, and it was really fun.
Adorable.
But, yeah,
Packing party.
packing party.
That's genius.
Yeah, and they all cried. They were like acting like I was going to war or something. I was like, I'll be back in a week.
Sending her off.
Yeah, literally. It was so funny. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. What was the question?
Well, just about like what's next in the decision. You
What
left
do
your
you-
job
what are you thinking?
for someone
Why
who's
did you
like
leave
you,
your
that's a
job?
planner. Like that's a big
well,
move.
now I think that we're open to like all of this like new world stuff to
Yeah.
me, where it's like the brand deals and things, where those are really exciting, and especially if it's something that we feel passionate about. I think that's what I feel. It's like I'm not going to like represent a brand that like I don't actually,
Of course.
use.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
yeah.
But so you're taking a leap of faith then. Say
We're
like
taking
let's
a leap
give
of
it a
faith.
shot. How
Yeah.
long are you giving yourself?
And Joey's my security blanket.
Joey's he's a good security blanket to have. What is like give me like a timeline when you think about the career, the finance, like okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna give this a shot. Because I'm so sick and tired of the people I see sometimes in your comments be like, oh, what do you just travel for a living? You
Yeah.
do this, you do that. It's such projection. It's like
Yeah.
it's very clear out there that there's a huge career and financial opportunity
Yeah.
when you're in this space.
Yeah.
If you don't see it now, wake up. It's 2024. It
Yeah.
is what it is. And stop projections. Where's your job? Well, they're giving something a shot.
Yeah.
When you think about it, especially as a planner and a project manager, like
Yeah.
you're managing this project. How long of a runway are you giving yourself before you're like, I'm going to test it, I'm going to try it, and if this doesn't work out, I'm going back to project management?
Yeah, I would say. I want to go back to project management regardless.
Okay,
like I
cool.
always want that security blanket, and I
Yeah.
want that career, like for me, regardless if it's like full time or part time, because
Okay.
with like the opportunities that come. But I would say like if I don't fully like it after 6 months, like I'd probably quit.
6
6
months
months to a year. I think
Okay.
that I would like if it doesn't feel right for me, like Yeah, I would just say
6
it's not
months
for
to
me.
a year.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to have it on your part 2 in 12 months from now.
Right.
We're gonna do a State of the Union. How is the business of
Yeah.
Kelsey Anderson going?
Right.
Yeah.
All right, Joey, you got a lot going on here. You go on The Bachelorette. You become the Bachelor, the most successful Bachelor in a long, long time. Now you got the wind of your sails. What does it look like? Do you thinking, are you thinking tennis? Are you thinking like where's the direction of your career going? Like what's it look like in your brain?
The true answer is I don't fucking know.
Fair.
It's very interesting to be in this position because as much as you can try to prep yourself for it, because you go and you're the Bachelor and you're like, okay, like this is going to bring opportunity. Everyone talks to you about it from all sides, from people that have been on the show, from people that weren't on the show, from people that are in the show. They're like, what do you think you want to do with this? And you never prep yourself before to like actually think, if I ever get a platform, what am I going to do with it? At least I was never in that position.
Yeah.
I never thought that I would be in this spot. So for me, my brain goes in so many different places. Tennis has given so much to me. I think I'd be crazy not to have tennis be a part of my life. But also that is something I can always pick back up at a later time because I put so much energy into it. So that's somewhere my brain goes. I love doing this. I love podcasts. I love talking to people. I love engaging with people. I think tennis was like a vice for me at the end of the day to be able to connect with people. So that gets me excited. I love sports. I'm like, maybe I go try and get into the sports broadcasting side of things. So your brain goes in so many places. But for me right now, the end of the day is I'm open and I have no idea what I'm doing yet. And I'm trying to enjoy this time. Yeah. But I am not as analytical as Kelsey, but still on that side of, man, this is weird not knowing what's coming next. Just because I'm okay right now doesn't mean that I really want to just get comfortable. Yeah. So I battle with it and I'm working through it because I don't like the idea of technically being unemployed for the last year. Like that's weird. That's the longest time in my life because I am employed, but I'm not at the same time too.
Right. This like a kind. We could take this out if you want, but this was a conversation you had. I think it was a month ago. You were talking about like I don't know what's next. I'm freaking out a little bit. Like what's in? I think the basis that if you took the root of our conversation, and I think Kelsey, you and I have had this one too. It's like where is my identity? Yeah. Like, how do I connect my identity? Because professional life dictates a lot of our other endeavors. And I said, Joey, where is this coming from? And you said, well, I'm starting to hear a lot of feedback about like, what do you travel for a living? And now it's getting in my head. I don't know. It's all right. Take a slow pull, like hit the brakes. I said, financially, has it been a pretty good year for you? Last 12 months? You're like, probably the best I've had. Okay. Did you find like the love of your life? Yeah. Does America love you right now, Joey? And you're like, no, stop. I'm like, all right, well, I'll say it. America loves you. Okay, so now you have a platform. You have the best thing that's happened to you, which is Kelsey. You've made more money than you've made in a while. You have the wind at your back. I'm like, so what's the actual problem? And I think you came full circle, and you're like, I think there actually isn't. It's just all these people that are like, expecting this something from me and I feel like I don't have an answer. So my question is, as you're thinking through this and people that are listening, and maybe some people are listening that also are in your comments, like, what do you travel for a living? Are you just gonna be an influencer? Like, what's your response? Because of course you're not gonna just go into a comment and be like, no, like what's both of your responses to when you think about your professional side and people are saying these things, how do you respond? What does it look like?
I don't know. I like to ignore it more than anything else. But to answer your question, when you always say like, what's your problem about it? I don't think my problem is now. Now's fine. My problem is thinking about what's 3 to 5 years from now.
Yeah.
That's my problem. Because I know that this is a moment. And I'm happy with it being a moment. We both kind of are okay with it being that way. Like we don't want this identity of being on this show to be our life, but we understand that we have people that have at least now been introduced to our lives, know who we are, and invested, and we want to be able to continue to be ourselves and see if we can take something from this, because as you said earlier, like you'd be foolish not to think about all the opportunities that come with it. So I think that I just think of trajectory. I think of trying to make the most of this, and my brain goes immediately, as I always do, I think 20 steps ahead, and I shouldn't, because right now, if I just stay present, life's amazing. I should be the happiest person ever. And I am in some ways, but I'm not in others because I start thinking about the future.
Yeah, well, I think so many people will try and shame and blame you because you're doing something that maybe not many people get the opportunity to do, or they have an expectation that you should do it one way, or that you should move in a certain direction. But a lot of it's external longing from their end or resentment that you have something they don't. And I think that's a perfect answer. Like, just live in today.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the perfect answer at a bar of what do you do or what are you going to do in 3-5 years, that's fine. Right now, you're in a place where professionally and financially and also personally, you get to like live a little bit of a dream. So live it. And what happens, happens. And if 2 years from now, you got to go back and you're a project manager and you're a tennis pro, then you did it. And you have the best memories in the world. And if this takes you somewhere else and you don't have to, then you figure that out then. Yeah. But it's so many people like to just slime you with their shit and then try and have them dictate your direction. And I love that you're like, no, this is what we're going to do now. We'll see how it goes 6 months to a year and reevaluate.
Yeah.
There's one more thing because it's just on this and I want you to speak on it. But there was a video I saw the other day that I keep going back to, and it's people that live in the past are depressed. People that live in the future are anxious. People that live in the present are happy.
Oh, I love that.
That's the idea. So and I think I'm living in the future and I'm anxious because of it right now.
Yeah.
That's what it is. But
and
if
when
I
we
could
bring you back to the present, what more could you have?
Yeah.
Like,
so I'm trying so hard to live in the present.
Yeah. And
because
it's so much easier said than
I'm
done,
not worried
right?
about the past anymore, but I think I'm anxious because I'm thinking about the future right now.
Exactly.
So I'm trying to get in the present.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like how you said, like there's comments of like, oh my gosh, like how are y'all affording all of this? Da, da, da. I was like, I've never had so many people be so concerned about my finances. I was like, it's so funny
like, it's
to
kind
me.
of nice, actually.
I was like, well, thank you for that. I was like, actually, but I don't know why I think that that's so funny. But I think for the most part, I do think that people are like actually just like asking the question, and like I think that for the most part it comes from a good place. I do think that a lot of times people are like, you know, just they're confused, like they don't understand this world, and neither do I fully. So it's like we're on the same page, you know, like Rebecca or whoever you are. Like it's like we're on the same page. I don't know what's going on either.
Let me ask you this then. Okay, so I'm gonna dig into that just for a second, and then I want to go into a fun little game I have. But okay. They're asking about your financial future. Spoiler alert, a lot of these trips are paid for. Some of them are not, okay? I'll tell you, you don't have to say anything. And a lot aren't. But right now, you guys have been very intentional with what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. And you're very intentional about not jumping into brand deals and immediately like monetizing. It's very thoughtful and it's smart. But the way you're doing it also is decreasing cash inflow today. Right? Do you at all feel, and I know you guys both have saved and you've had some opportunities, but do you feel any type of financial stress right now? Or are you not feeling any type of financial stress? It's where like when people say these questions, like, how are you affording it? You can either answer that, like, how are you affording it? Or are you feeling financial stress or not?
I would say, honestly, if we combine our financials together, we are not stressed at the moment. But I think that most importantly, as we keep talking about, if you think 3 to 6 months ahead, maybe we will be, right?
No,
so
you
like
won't.
we won't, but
I'm telling you.
We won't, but I think it's more along the lines of that if you think about if we get no more cash flow coming in through this and the time,
we have to
right?
just survive off of what we have right now.
Yeah, we're fine, but I
we'll
know
be making
that
peanut butter sandwiches.
we're
Back at Carly's.
Back to Carly's.
That's
Carly's
our
Zach
safety
yeah.
net. No, we're fine right now, and we're open to see what's coming. But I think it's more about that we want to make sure that we're going to set ourselves up here.
But also,
in the future.
we both are very capable of like, you can work at a tennis job and I can work
Exactly.
back at
tomorrow.
it.
You can go back.
Easy.
You can
And that's
tomorrow.
what that's
I
what
think
we're
the
back to.
trajectory is going to be huge and exciting, but you know what? We'll see what that looks like. Let me ask you this. If either you could be on, we look at the future, look at career opportunities, you've been on reality shows, you've both done one on reality shows, you could be on one reality show, more of a rapid fire question.
Yeah.
Kelsey, we'll start with you. One reality show. What reality show would you be on?
I would say maybe Big Brother, just because I like competition. I like competitiveness.
You'd kill it
And,
because
like,
you would kill the social game and you would kill the strategy game, I feel like.
I'd just be friends with everybody.
For anybody that doesn't know, like if Kelsey goes into a bar, she'll meet 100 people, all 100 people are going to love her after. It's literally your personality. Approachable, down to earth, and funny as all hell. What show would yours be?
I'm gonna do something completely different.
Throw a curveball.
I'll go Survivor just because
Yeah.
we've been
Ooh.
watching
We
that a
love
ton
Survivor.
recently.
I didn't see that. That's cool.
We've been watching it just the last couple of days. I got a buddy back home that's obsessed with the show
Yeah.
too. But I don't know. I just would love to go into that and see how I would do with it. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like I just would love to see what it'd be like to be stuck on an island. And I just think it's one of those shows when you think about that. The format has been so successful for so long because
Yeah.
it's just genius.
It's just great.
Yeah,
You just
I
vote
see you, man. You
You
live
got
in the
You
like
life.
can survive.
You're like not a shoes guy. You want to be barefoot. You want to be on Earth.
could
And see you like
thrive on
spear
that
a fish
island.
and be like, all right,
Yeah.
I'm gonna
I
last
also think that
another.
they would kick him off early because they're like his social game's too good.
No.
Yeah, you would be
I'd
deadly
lay
on that
low.
show.
I'd
Deadly.
lay low.
All right, we're gonna play a little game. You guys, we're gonna play a little game. 2 notepads, 2 pens. You can't see each other's answers. Part of it is going to be finance. The other part of it, oh, Luna's in the house. The other part of it is going to be U.S. history.
U.S. history.
For Joey?
Joey needs a little restart,
All
and my
right,
first
we can
book was
talk
called
about
The
this.
Restart Roadmap.
We can
All
talk
right,
about
history
this.
question number 1. This is Kelsey versus Joey, trading secrets with Luna as our sidekick.
Luna.
Here's question number 1, Joey, because the RBG struggle was real, so we need to come back from that.
Yeah,
Here
that
we
wasn't a
go.
good
We've
look.
got some layups. Write it down right now. Who was our first president? You got 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3.
I don't know if you can write
2,
it this quickly with what you're
1.
saying.
Hurry up. Who was our first president? Kelsey, answer.
What is that?
George Washington. Oh my God.
Is that
George, wait. Verify. Let me see.
I don't even know
Show
if
the
that's
camera.
a word.
Was that Barry
I don't
Washington?
know.
That's George Washington. We're gonna let it go.
George Washington.
Okay. All right. Question 2. You guys each pass 1 point. Who is our current vice president?
Our current?
Current vice president. U.S. history with Joey and Kelsey 101.
I know
Oh.
her name. Wait.
Oh no, Kels.
Why do I want to say?
I met her.
I know.
She's
Yeah.
a sweetheart.
Joey, go first. Show it, Joey. Joey's got it.
Harrison. Wait.
Go ahead.
I know.
You got Kamala. It's
Kamala.
Harrison now.
Harrison. Okay, that you just added a couple letters.
It's
you got
just-
it.
it's
We're gonna give
ON,
you points.
but
That's 2. We'll call it
Kamala Harris.
We're gonna call
Good
it
try.
one.
Good try.
The score right now is 1.95 to 2.0.
Yeah, I'm
All
winning.
right.
Why
Here,
did I want to say Pamela?
If you said Pamela Anderson, we would have ended it right
you know
now.
what? You're still at Barstool from last night. All right, let's keep this going. How many states are there? Oh, nice. They both look confident. Kelsey, go. Nailed it. Joey nailed it. All right. Last question. When was the Declaration
Embarrassing.
of Independence adopted?
Oh, this is one I'm gonna mess up.
I think I've had almost everyone wrong.
Hi, pretty girl. I don't know this answer.
Give it a chance.
What's the answer? Okay, we're gonna go with that.
I have no idea. What did you
I
say?
think it's either 1896, 1886, and I 17 something.
You guys did so good. What do we celebrate in
Nicolas
July?
Cage, help me.
What do we celebrate in July?
Oh, you meant
4th of July.
4th of July, July 4th, 1776.
Oh,
All right, so I had the 6.
All right, I love it. All right,
If you change this to a 7, 1776, 1886, that's not that far off.
all right. Well, let's get into this.
Yeah, we gotta cut
I
this
don't-
out. We gotta cut this
We're gonna hope you guys could do money better than you could do U.S. history.
We
Turn your
probably
page.
won't, but we're gonna
We just
try.
have a few minutes. Go right now. Don't let one another see. This is connects to my book, Talk Money to Me. You guys are going to be cohabitating and hopefully here married soon. I know you guys are taking your time, but I'm excited for that wedding when it does happen. First question. 1, yes or no, do you know one another's credit score? And if so or if yes, what do you think it is?
Do you
Wait,
want
don't
me to-
cheat, don't cheat.
Do you want me to put your credit score out there?
No, it's great. No, put it out. 'cause
I'm not gonna do it, but I'm just gonna say yes, and I'm gonna say I'm not
Kelsey,
putting
you
Kelsey's
and I
out
need to have
there.
a financial talk.
Yes,
I
they do.
just my credit. It's because
She
my
doesn't
credit
have
age.
she doesn't
It's
she
'cause of
doesn't
my
have credit
age.
cards. She doesn't have credit cards.
I only have
Oh,
2.
okay. Okay,
So
so
she
share
doesn't
your
have any
answer. We'll talk
credits.
about this in a second. Go.
Okay.
What's
your answer? Do you know the credit score? Yes or no? You don't have to share the credit score.
I
if you
think I know hers. I don't think she knows
Yeah.
mine.
I know
Okay.
yours.
Okay, what do you
Yeah.
think? Do you know his credit score?
Yes, it's
okay,
in-
what is it?
Early, it's like high, or low 70s.
Yeah.
Is that
100s.
correct?
Yeah, she's
Okay,
right
do you know
around
her
it.
credit
I
score?
think she's like 660.
Is that
maybe
correct?
670,
high.
yeah.
660,
Okay, you and I are
670.
going to talk offline, and then we're going to have a recap. We're going to talk about credit scores. Biggest thing with credit scores, no one should ever, first of all, you can, in just 90 days, that can go up. We'll
Yeah.
talk about it. And no one should shame a bad credit score. I know people with 400 or 500 credit scores,
trust
they're
me.
multimillionaires.
It's like literally, I've
no one
always
should
paid.
shame a bad
I've
credit
always
score.
paid on time. I've always done all these things that I'm supposed to do, but it's my credit age where it's like
Yeah.
I didn't get it until I was 22. Of
course.
And I'm 26.
And mine. I was at 7:30, and I went on the show, and I had a payment from a credit card that I didn't answer for 2.5 months, and
You're busy falling in love.
dropped like 80 points. I was like, what the fuck?
But that's my biggest
And
thing.
then I was like, and now I'm just like, I have like 4 new credit cards now. I'm just spending as much money as possible, and that shit's going up. We're doing our job again.
My
but
biggest
goddamn Venmo credit card. I bought like something online for $100 and never paid it off. And I went on a TV show, and I come back and my credit score bombed.
You're like, I'm America's sweetheart now.
I can't even get an apartment building.
FICO's villain and America's
Jesus
sweetheart.
Christ.
Hey, the good thing about credit, just as quick as it drops, it can improve. So that's a good thing. Okay, what's one thing that Joey overspends on? You know that they overspend on it.
This
Go.
right now.
What is it? What is something Joey overspends on?
Let me just do a little bit of this, and that's all you need to know.
One thing she overspends on?
I'm going to throw
Everything.
5 exclamation points on this.
Okay, Kelsey, you clearly got a softball here. Golf.
Golf is the
And what's
easiest
that?
answer.
Clothes? Do you agree with it?
This girl has so many clothes, and she just goes and she's like, I need more. I'm like, no, you don't. She's like, I have no outfit this weekend.
Okay,
yes,
as
you
you're cohabitating, what's the big? If I give you right now, if I give you 10 grand, Kelsey, you don't have to write this down. I give you 10 grand. You have to spend 24 hours. Where are you spending it? Go. Don't even think. Go. Just say it. What do you think? Where are you going? Where are you going?
Close.
Okay,
Mall.
close. All right, I give you 10 grand right now, Joey. Where are you spending it on?
I'm taking all my boys on the best golf trip they've ever been on.
So it's golf. So hang on, quick little lesson
I'm
here.
going to championship with my girlfriends.
Yeah, good.
No, here's the thing, right? I'm coming at you here. If it's her number one priority is clothes, let it be clothes.
Yeah.
Just because yours is golf doesn't mean clothes
I don't
is wrong.
hate on
and
it.
just because his is golf doesn't mean that golf is wrong.
I really don't think you like spend crazy. It's just like that's the most, but it's not bad.
We have 2 things that we're
But also,
obsessed with.
I'm not
Spend money on.
Now here's the other thing.
I'm not
No,
bad,
number
though.
2 on the
No, you're
priority
not.
list. Number 2, 3, and 4. If you write your priority list, obviously clothes is 1 for you, golf is 1 for you. But then you go 2, 3, and 4. Then that's where you're like, you kind of got to give each other shit. Because like if the first thing makes you that happy, spend on it. Don't worry about it. But like number 2, 3, 4, 5, that's where you want to adjust it.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Let's do this one. Monthly expenses. If you had to guess one another's monthly expenses, what do you think the total monthly expenses are?
I'm going for hers.
You're guessing her total monthly expenses. We'll start with you, Kelsey. Kelsey, what do you think Joey's total monthly expenses are?
I think it's 5,000.
5,000, Joey. What is it, do you think?
I would say right now it's probably been around that.
Wow, nailed it. What do you think Kelsey's is?
I was going to say like 2.5K.
2.5K?
I'd say that's right.
Wow, you guys nailed it.
We've talked about this
We
stuff.
have some good financial transparency
we've
going
been
into
in
it.
it. We've
All
been in
right,
it.
well, time is ticking here, so I'm going to let you guys off the hook easy. I'm not going to get into net worth or things like that, but we'll have that conversation offline. You got to talk money before you move into one another, but we'll wrap this episode of Trading Secrets with one trading secret. So we got to get one trading secret from you, Kelsey, one from you, Joey. You can't learn it from a professor. You can't learn it from a TikTok tutorial or a YouTube. You can only learn it from your career and life lessons. It could be a money tip. It could be a life tip. It could be just a quote that means something to you. Anything, but it's a trading secret that's special to your experience. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Joey,
We have a
give
little
us your
more
trading
time.
secret.
For me, I think that tennis has been such a beautiful job for me. I have been so lucky to meet so many successful people because usually the people that are at clubs, country clubs, at resorts, they're people that are very well off. It is amazing when you get them in these atmospheres how much the last thing they want to talk about is their job. So my tip is more try to connect with people about everything outside of what they do for a job.
Oh, I love it.
Because when you go on vacation, it happens most of the time. That's the last thing they want to talk about. And if you can try to connect with them on something otherwise, the most successful people in the world are going to drop walls that they probably have not dropped before.
I love it. Don't judge a person by their title or their job. Get to know them past that.
Yep.
Great trading secret. One we haven't had before. I love it. I subscribe to it. Kelsey, what do you got?
I don't know. I think it's something maybe that I've learned recently of just that the opinions that matter are your friends and family, the people that actually know you, and not like the outside noise. You know, people that don't know you. You know, they only see you for what you post and what, you know, is perceived, but there's so much more to you. And, you know, to just what matters is your friends and family's opinions and the people that matter to you.
That's a good point. I know it's a little bit lately. There's been a couple of those moments. And I think that's such a good learning lesson that when those other people are saying those nasty things, that's not a reflection of you. It's a reflection of them.
Yes, exactly.
And what matters is right next to you.
Exactly.
Right? So perfectly said. That's a great trading secret. All right. For anyone that sleeps under a rock and can't find you guys or don't know who you are and they're only finding out through this podcast, where can they find you?
At Joey Grazia on Instagram.
Can we give me a little more Z?
Yeah, Joey Grazia.
Yeah, now we're talking.
There
Kels?
it is.
And I'm,
Kelsey Anderson.
Yes, I'm _Kelsey_Anderson.
Anderson.
I love it. Well, thank you, Kelsey and Joey, for
y'all.
coming on this episode of Trading Secrets. We'll have you guys back in 6 to 12 months from now
There we go.
to see what it looks like. Are you still in the game, or you're back to project management and tennis pro? More to
Deleting
come.
my
Thank you guys for being on.
Thanks for having us,
you.
Jay.
Woo.